Good morning. Welcome to How Are We Here, my little channel where I can share with you all the neat things I read, watch, or look up on the interwebs. Today, I'm going to talk a little about how we are here according to the old Norse legends. So sit back and let me tell you a tale. In my searches for old legends of creation, I decided to see what the Scandinavians thought. I, of course, knew a little bit about the old legends, Odin, Thor, Loki, Yggdrasil, amongst others, from the Marvel comics, from old readings of myths I've done when I was younger, but very few details of how it all began. And boy, was it different. It was fun. It was a tale of giants and gods and battles. So sit back and listen on. Before the now, there was a dark, violent abyss called the Ginnungagap. This chaos of perfect silence and darkness laid between two other lands. There was Muspelheim, a place of fire and heat, and then there was Niflheim, a place of ice and cold. The Ginnungagap was the point of contact where these two elemental lands hissed and sizzled as the frost from Niflheim would collide with the flames of Muspelheim. The result from this eternal battle between these two elements were droplets of water slowly collecting, condensing, and magically it came alive. It took the form of a godlike giant. He called himself Ymir, the Screamer. He possessed destructive powers. He could also reproduce all on his own. While he slumbered, an entire race of evil giants called the Vanir would exit from his armpits, his leg pits, forming from the sweat of these joints. Ymir would be sustained by the milk of a cow, Udhumla, whom emerged from the melting frost. As she nourished Ymir, she would nourish herself by licking the ice and frost as if it were a salt lick. Slowly, over time, her licks uncovered another being, Buri, the progenitor first of the Aesir tribe of gods. Buri was a tall figure. Ymir watched him emerge from the frost over a few days. His heart was warm, and he was good. Many years, good and evil lived together precariously in this proto world. Buri, during this time, would have a son named Bor. Bor would marry Besla. She was the daughter of the giant Boathorn. From these two, half-god and half-giant children would be born. Odin, whom I'm sure many of you have heard, was born. He would become chief of the Aesir gods. He would have two brothers as well, Vili and Be. There came a time when Odin and his brothers they decided to destroy Ymir and the Vanir. So they led an attack on Ymir, and after a great and hard-fought battle, Ymir was slain. From the defeated corpse of Ymir, his blood would flow from his wounds. The blood flooded his domain and drowned all of his kin, all but his grandchild, Bergrimir, and his wife. They hid in a great chest and survived the flood of blood. They would become the progenitors of the Vanir clan of deities. Odin and his brothers were left victorious. They would go on to create the world as we know it. So using Ymir's corpse, the brothers would fashion the earth, the sea, and the heavens. Ymir's blood became the ocean, and the rivers, and the lakes. His muscle became the land. His long bones, those were the mountains. His teeth and smaller broken bones became rocks and pebbles and sand. Ymir's skull Odin used for the dome of the sky. His skin used to cover the land and soil. His hair became the trees and plants and grass. The clouds, those were Ymir's brains. No part of Ymir was wasted in the creation of Midgard. And get this, they even used Ymir's eyebrows to fashion a fence to surround this beautiful world that they protect and the race that they plan to create. Gathering sparks, gathering cinders that floated from the realm of fire to the south, the Aesir gods made day. They created the sun, they created the moons, and the stars. This set in motion our days, our own time cycle. This sun was known as Sol, while the moon was called Mane. Odin gave each of them their own chariot with a pair of swift horses to each propel them across the sky. Days were bright and fair, much like the warm-hearted Aesir race, while the night, those were dark and gloomy, cold like the Vanir. The gods, they also created their own city. Asgard laid beyond the ocean, a land much, much colder than Midgard. Asgard would be in heaven where the Aesir could look upon their people and protect them from any evil giants that survived the destruction of the Vanir. These two worlds, connected by a bridge of many colors, the bridge being able to be seen on Midgard. The Rainbow Bridge can still sometimes be seen in the sky today. With their city created, with the world created, Odin and his brothers would commence with the most important creation. And can you guess what this most important creation was? It was people. The next task was the creation of people. So to make the first living beings, Odin and his brothers, they would go down to the decaying body of Ymir, and they would take maggots. Yes, from the maggots, this race of dwarves was born. The Aesir, they were dissatisfied. Even though the dwarves were wise and skilled, they behaved more like Ymir than like Odin, probably because they were maggots from Ymir. Four of the dwarves, they were tasked with holding up Ymir's sky skull. Yeah, the sky skull. Each dwarf was assigned a post: north, east, south, and west. That's where these four directions came from. Then, Odin and his brothers, they would also create a taller race. A race fair-skinned and more like the Aesir. These taller people, these maybe elves, would dwell upon the surface with nature. The dwarves, though, they tended to prefer dwelling deep in caves. They preferred the dark and the coldness and spent their days digging metal and precious gems from the earth. They used these materials in their forges, creating beautiful ornaments and deadly weapons. And unfortunately, over time, the surface dwellers and the subterranean dwarves, they became enemies. The dwarves, they claimed it was because the taller people, they kept trying to steal their gold and jewels. The gods, they were not happy with this. They were sick of their bickering children. They wanted, no, they truly wished to create beings worthy of their love and protection. Which kind of mean, I mean, you did create the dwarves and elves. They decided to cross the Rainbow Bridge and travel to Midgard. As they walked upon the earth, they came upon an ash tree and an elm tree along the seashore. Odin, he breathed upon them, and they became a living man and a living woman. Vili and Be would also help. One brother touched their heads and the two people became wise. The other brother touched their faces, allowing them to speak, to hear, and to see. These two people, they would become known as Ask the Ash and Embla the Elm. Ask and Embla were the parents of a new human race. This new race would dwell upon Midgard, watched over and protected by their Aesir creators. Tales from Norse legends speak of a winter yet to come, a great winter that will usher in the fate of gods and men, a winter so cold, windy, snow falling like never before. The sun, moon, and stars, they will vanish from the skies. Men will suffer, as will the gods. A betrayal will happen. Loki of the Aesir gods will turn traitor. He will set sail with his ship filled to the brim with giants. Packs of wolves will roam the earth, eating the weak and suffering. Then a monster wolf, a great wolf, Fenrir, will race over the land, eating everything and everyone in its path. Jurgamond, the world serpent, will appear and spit its venom all across the world, poisoning everything, everything in its wake. The fiery sky serpents, they will split the sky, lighting up the sky as they cross the Rainbow Bridge, destroying it in the process. Odin, chief of the Aesir gods, he will be forced to summon the gods who are left, summon them to his side, those whom have safely sheltered in Asgard. The gods, though, they already know what is upon them. This is Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, and their fate, it is already sealed. Even though they know the outcome, the gods, they will fight on against the forces of destruction, knowing their place in Valhalla is sealed. Odin and a number of comrades will be swallowed by the great Fenrir. Vidar, Odin's son, will avenge his father. He will charge Fenrir. Holding the great beast's mouth open, he will plunge his sword down Fenrir's throat, slaying him with his last. Thor, the mightiest of the Norse gods and one of Odin's sons. He, the god of thunder and lightning, will face down the encroachment of giants. He will defend both Midgard and Asgard. With his mighty hammer Mjolnir, he will slay Ymir. But throughout the battle, Thor will end up filled with venom, and mere steps off the battlefield, he too will topple over and fall dead. In a series of battles, the gods, they will all fall throughout Ragnarok. The world will slowly sink into the dark sea. With creation being undone, it will be as it was in the beginning, a void as if nothing had ever happened. But some tell of a legend, a rebirth will occur. Creation, it will happen again, and a new world will rise. Again, maybe. It makes you wonder if the legend that tells us of an imminent Ragnarok is actually telling us about a Ragnarok that has come to pass. You know, a part of the unending cycle of destruction and rebirth, kind of like the Hindus we had from last week. Are we living in the cycle that has already seen the fall of the gods? Is that how the fates can tell the legend of what hasn't happened? Who knows? It was still a cool tale. A tale at least 1,000 years old, maybe based on older Germanic tales from a couple thousand years before that. It was a very, very fun ride. I enjoyed this one, like I did the Greek video from a few weeks back. Check that one out on my channel if you didn't see it. I knew a bit about the Norse gods, just like I knew a bit about the Greek gods, but for this one, not much more than a bovine licking ice was involved in the awakening of the first god. So it was a cool, cool tale, and not just because of the environment it came from. And I like the symbolism of the serpent eating its own tail, to show how the cosmos may be circular and everything that has come to pass will come to pass again. Just think on it. Otherwise, thank you for watching. And if you made it this far, make sure to give yourself a like by clicking that button. Thank you either way though. I appreciate the view, and I hope you enjoyed the watch. Hopefully, you haven't clicked off the video yet, so I can ask you to raise arms against the YouTube algorithm. It's a cycle that we can only beat together. So please, leave a like, leave a comment, share with your friends and your other social media buddies, and make sure you're subscribed. It means a lot to me and will let me know I am not just screaming out into the intervoid. Thanks again. And if you enjoyed hearing the old Norse tale of creation, maybe you'll like hearing about other creation stories. I have a few other tales on how other older cultures thought we got here. They're on the channel. Take a view. TLDR, I'm just some guy on the YouTube who did some reading on an interesting topic and shared it the best I could. Thank you all again. Have a great day and take care. Keep safe.